Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Pacheco,
Tristan Jones.
and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to talk about the first three episodes of the new Amazon Prime Video series, Gen V. But before I get Tristan and Brittany's thoughts about the show, let's hit you with some Gen V facts. Gen V, of course, is a spin-off series from The Boys. That's one of our favorite things to talk about here on the Watchers. And this season is set in the Boys universe. It's between season 3 and season 4 of The Boys. Season 4 is supposed to drop in 2024 at some point, so we will definitely be talking about that when it comes out. The release date for Gen V was September 29th, was the first 3 episodes. The finale is set for November 3rd, so it's an 8-episode season, much like the 3 Boys seasons. They were all 8-episode runs. And the cast includes Jazz Sinclair, Chance Paradomo, Lizzie Broadway, Maddie Phillips, Derek Liu, London Thor, Asa Gurman, Shelley Kahn, Patrick Schwarzenegger, Sean Patrick Thomas, and Clancy Brown. Tristan, what did you think about the first 3 episodes of Gen V?
I'm all in. It's not hard, being a boy spinoff, but I do like just a different spin on it. Whereas it kind of encompasses the same themes of the boys, whereas this, superhero worship and a lot of the politics that go into, marketing superheroes, celebrities at large. Interesting show. I mean, it's just as gory. I guess.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into all that stuff. Yeah,
like really gory. But I'm a big fan of the show so far. I watched my wife and I watched the first episode this weekend, and I binged the other 2 today on my off period. But big fan of the show so far. I like where it's going.
Brittany, what are your thoughts so far of the first 3 episodes?
I mean, everything Tristan said, but I will say, in terms of how quickly the show grabs your attention, I think is a lot faster than the very first episode of The Boys when we see Huey with Robin and A-Train just flying through Robin, killing her like pretty violently, right? But this show just stepped it up a notch. It grabbed you almost instantaneously, and the way that it grabs you is absolutely wild. And I I mean, the entire time I'm just like sitting here shocked, like, what am I witnessing? But listen, the creators, Eric Kripke, by the way, huge fan of him now because I'm now watching Supernatural, which is like a completely separate subject for a separate pod if we ever do it. But I have so much respect for him, his creative mind, the whole production team to create not only the world of The Boys, but also Gen V, because it's also really fascinating to see the perspective of superheroes, but a younger generation. Right? This college is specifically meant for a teen or young adult superheroes, and the marketing that went behind all of this for the university. I mean, we work in higher education, right? So we understand it, right? It's wild. It's so on point. It's a great show. I do have some questions that I hopefully can get either one of y'all to kind of help explain. But for the first 3 episodes that we got for Gen V, like Tristan said, I'm all in. I cannot wait to see what the rest of the season holds.
Yeah, I'm with y'all. I think that one of the taglines is like from the world of the boys, right? That's how I describe the show, and it's like this show fits right in with the boys. It's I feel like we're right back to where season 3 left off, and the way obviously we're going to get some of the characters that we're familiar with kind of sprinkled in, but we get all these new faces, and I'm really impressed with how quickly I care about these characters and how all these characters are so well made, and the actors are great. And it's a lot of people I'm not familiar with. This is like a lot of fresh faces for me for the cast, and we'll get into that in a second. But no, it's great. I feel like we're right back in that world, and it's a wild, bloody, gory, crazy ride, and I'm looking forward to it. And the only complaint I have about the show, and this is my complaint for every season of The Boys, is I just don't like the 3-episode drop at the beginning. Like, I think the weekly release for a show like, especially for this show and for The Boys, they pack so much into one episode that like you don't need to drop 3 at once. I understand the first year they did it because no one knew the property. It's like, well, who know, let's give it a shot. But after 3 seasons of The Boys, and they also did the animated show Diabolical, which I believe that was all dropped at once. But I think the success of The Boys, I don't think you need to give us 3 at a time, like, because the season's only 8 episodes. So we're almost halfway through the season already. And like case in point, after the first episode, there is a little mini trailer for the rest of the season. It's like, upcoming this semester on Gen V. And I just feel like that should have been your ending point for the first week. And then you have 7 more weeks of this show that I think people are going to like, much like the Boys. So that's my only complaint. It's just it's selfish because like, I'd rather just talk about each episode and instead of trying to like discuss 3 episodes at once. But no,
I didn't
great.
watch the trailer, what you're talking about. I didn't watch
Really?
the trailer. Tristan,
Yeah.
did you?
I didn't even know there were 2 other episodes, like, to be honest, because we watched the first episode and it was like late, and then I meant to check, but I was like, it was like 11:30. It was time to go to bed.
Yeah.
And I didn't know until Frank asked me, he's like, hey, you want to do a pod on the first 3? I was like, first 3? But just to back up what you're saying, John, I would have preferred, if you're going to do like a drop, do the first 2 and then go week from there.
Right.
Like we said, there's so much in these episodes
Yeah.
that, like, I feel like one episode by itself is like 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I don't like the 3 drop either.
I just feel like I think this show is a prestige kind of show. I don't know that maybe it's not looked at that way, but I mean, like The Boys season 3 or season 2 was Emmy nominated, I believe. One of them was Emmy nominated. I'm getting kind of confused, but I do think it's like high quality show, and I just think like Game of Thrones wouldn't give us 3 at a time or 2 at a time. Succession wouldn't do that, so I feel like Amazon should know like this is like probably their best or well made show, right? I don't know if it's their most watched show, but I bet it's up there. So I feel like they should like just give us 1 a week and like enjoy that run of having 7 or 8 weeks of programming instead of just 6. I just don't really understand the thought process behind that. It kind of boggles the mind for me. But otherwise, fantastic show. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm ready to jump in. So let's get to the characters. As I mentioned a little bit ago, for the most part, like I've never heard of, I don't know, 80% of these actors, and to me, they're like perfectly cast, and we're right back in this world. Tristan, let's talk about the main character is Marie Moreau, who's played by Jazz Sinclair, which I wasn't familiar with. Have you seen this actress before? And what do you think about the character so far?
I did know Jazz Sinclair. She was in When the Bow Breaks years ago, but she doesn't have like the longest filmography, but
Right.
I think she was masterfully cast because one is, as Black girl superhero. Like, this is like our first time having that demographic as a main superhero or suit on this show or in this universe, and you need that because so much of what the show is like we talk about the politics of who gets marketed, right?
Yep.
And you see like the different the diverse, I guess, backgrounds of a lot of the suits in the show. Like, you have a Black girl who's the main character. You have a gender bending suit, right?
Yeah.
Who's also Asian.
Right.
You have a bisexual black black suit. Like, it's so many. The backgrounds of so many of them are so diverse. So I think she's the perfect person to lead it. I just think she does a really good job of straddling the fence between like the super ambitious, but also like the damage from the trauma and tragedy that her powers, caused her when she was a kid. I'm a big fan of her so far. And she's killing in these dresses. Like, just side note, she's killing these dresses. Yeah,
You are
she's
not wrong. She looks fantastic.
fantastic in these dresses. Wow. I hit the IG real quick. But
Calm down.
but no,
Calm
she
down.
if nothing else, like I'm interested in learning more about Marie Moreau and what really drives her. Like the dean asked, like, why do you want to be a superhero? And I don't think that's a question that she's really answered for herself yet. So she can't really answer that externally. So I'm really interested in just learning more about what drives her, what motivates her, especially when she's put in different situations. We've already seen like just the stress of trying to rekindle a relationship with her sister. And as of now, that not being a possibility, how that guides her actions. So I want to know, like, what else guides her actions? What else? What is the gap between, what happened when her parents dying, and we pick up with her at a foster home, basically. I want to know more about that gap and like how that also informs her character. So I'm just interested to learn more.
Yeah, the thing about the boys in this show already, there's already been flashbacks, so I think we're gonna probably see some of that at some point. Uh, Brittany, Tristan brought up the fact of her parents died. Would you like to talk about how Marie Moreau's parents died and how quickly we got to see that death?
Man, again, this show just grabbed you instantaneously with the family. They're alive and well. They're all together in the living room. They're watching A Train, who we know from The Boys. He was the first, I guess, known black superhero to join the Seven,
He
right?
was
And
the number
he,
one ranked, and he was like the number one pick. It was like the Sports Center style draft show. Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy, and he went to Godolphin University, which is where this show takes place, and they're watching this press conference with him, and dad's all excited, and he wants his daughters to watch, and they're over here, messing around, what have you. And Marie, she's 12 years old, and so she's becoming a woman, right? Um, and when she checks to see what's going on, the blood that is on her fingertips starts levitating, and it's like, what's going on here? And so she starts freaking out naturally, because spoiler, that doesn't happen. But she's freaking out, and I guess her mother had kind of sensed that her baby girl is becoming a young woman, right? And she wants to check in on her. Well, when Marie starts freaking out because the blood just is doing that, and mom starts freaking out too, barges in through the door, the blood becomes weaponized, and it slices through the poor mother, right? And Marie, not for one, not knowing that she had these abilities, let alone this was the ability, right? She indirectly kills her mother, and then the father comes storming in, freaking out. What happened, and he too dies, not in the same fashion, but he dies. You know, falls on top of his wife, and little sister is out. In front of the door, blood splatters just everywhere, and it's just. I mean, I tell you guys, that was intense. I didn't think that they were gonna go there that fast, but damn it, they did. And it was bloody awful, pun intended.
Yeah. I think it was so well done though, because to show A Train, a character that we're all familiar with. If you watch The Boys, you know who A Train is. To start out with him, and then to take it to this other family who's watching him being drafted, and then to immediately have this devastating, bloody scene, like like right away, we're in The Boys world. Like this is we're off and running. This is like this show is what this is. Like they're not hiding behind anything. This is not a different take. This is the same kind of show.
Mhm.
Just we have new characters, and we're reloading, and here we
And
go. So
and keep in mind too, at this time when A Train's being drafted, it's not known that parents were giving their
right,
children Compound V, right? So hence why Marie, at the age of 12, wouldn't know that she has superpowers, because her parents did not tell her, presumably, that, hey, we did this to you as a baby. By the way, you might get superpowers. But if I can remember correctly, I think superpowers started showing up around the ages of 9, like 8 or 9, 10 years old, and so she was a little bit older when her powers uh, surfaced, if you will. And so, yeah, from that moment, she next scene is like we see her at Red River, and we've seen Red River before, which is the foster home to Supes, who I guess in later times they have their powers are a little bit more difficult to control, and they're just not easily adoptable. you know
Yeah.
so it's a really sad situation, but this young woman is pretty determined. Like she gets up, she's looking at the calendars, something very important about that calendar, and what it turns out to be is she's wanting to find out if she got accepted to Godolphin University, which is for Supes.
Yeah, and with her story, I kind of wonder, because she got her powers later. Maybe she was given her powers a little bit later. Like, maybe instead of being like, maybe she was like 5 years old when she got the powers or something. I wonder if we're gonna learn, like, because, like, all the other parents in this show, and we'll probably get around to that. They seem to be terrible people. Of the characters that we know, they're pretty bad people for the most part. And not, I mean, we don't know about her parents because they died so quickly, but maybe they didn't know they were giving her this or something. I think we might be getting that story. I don't know. I'm not sure. Tristan, what do you think about that?
You may be right. Maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll find out that they were ignorant about, like, at least, okay, I don't think that they did not know. I do think that it's possible they may have been ignorant about the extent to which it would have an effect on her and her powers, whatever. But the thing that leads me to think that they absolutely know is just how enthusiastic the dad is about just superhero stuff in general.
That's
right. It seems like there's some type of obsession, and at least kind of judging by the girl's reaction, like this is something they're used to. So he seems like really obsessive about, like, just being like Supes and the whole thing. So that leads to me to believe that the parents absolutely intentionally gave the compound V, but I don't know if any of these parents really understand, like, the extent of it, especially if we're doing these flashbacks at younger ages. I just simply don't think so. And I don't want to jump ahead, but, like, the thing I was waiting to talk about are the parents, because especially with episode 3 and, like, how they focus in on the parents. And I love what Kate said, like I think she went a little extreme with it, but, like, while the things that happen to these families are tragic and absolutely horrific, especially to watch on screen, like, we can't forget that they intentionally gave these things to their kids, right? And, like, in turn, like, set these things in motion. But that's later.
Yeah. I was going to say, we need to put a pin about parents, because I definitely want to talk about Emma's mother, because good God, that woman. Anyway, and I was going to, to piggyback off what Tristan was saying about the father being just so excited, talk about Supes, and especially the first, Black man to be part of the 7. And it kind of translates to Marie when she finally is accepted. And I think it's either at Red River, she's talking to the counselor, or someone, maybe the dean at Godolphin, I can't remember, but talking about maybe being the first Black woman to be part of the 7. So I think something obviously carried, from the excitement from her father, at least, to the point that she's at in life now. And she definitely has something to prove, or she feels she has something to prove, more so because of how her sister viewed her after the death of their parents. She can't say it. You hear her and watch her kind of lead up to saying, I'm not a monster, but she can't openly admit that to herself. She just can't say it out loud. But that's what she's thinking, right? She wants to prove to her sister, I think, through any means necessary at this point, whether, even if she wasn't at Godolphin or everything that's happening to her, getting the national recognition that she gets, and I know I'm jumping ahead, she just wants to prove that she's not a monster, that her abilities are not a monstrous act. And it was an accident with what happened to her parents. I'm sure she loved her parents and wouldn't want anything to ever happen to them. it's very interesting to see like what Tristan was saying, what drives her. This is why I love having Tristan back on the show, because like he just like eloquently says all the things that we're thinking, and we just go from there. So, but I will say she is very driven, obviously, and um it's not all about the hype with the other young college students of having the social media and doing all the things. And she's just like, listen, I'm here to do one thing only. And that's to be here, to rank, and then to get into the 7. That's it. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I very much appreciate that. But it's not going to be that simple, baby girl. Like it's just not.
You were talking about her powers, and while her powers are very effective, and she obviously knows how to wield that blood bending power. I have to say it is pretty like gruesome to watch, and then even how she like every time she uses her power, she takes out a knife and cuts her hand to bring the blood out, and it's
Mhm.
like it's such a I don't know, I've never seen that. It's like these like blood tendrils that she can like throw at people or whatever. And my question, I mean, I have a couple of questions, but like I mean, every time she saves somebody, she's leaving her DNA like everywhere, and then also
Okay.
like how does she like I mean, like how does she,
Regenerate it that
regenerate? Yeah,
fast.
because like,
Yeah.
you're probably losing a little bit of blood whenever you're doing that. So I don't know. It's I do like how Brink, who is the main professor or whatever at the college, he's talking when he rejects her, from the Lamplighter School of Crime Fighting. He actually, he kicks her out for a reason we'll talk about in a little bit. But I like how he commented. He's like, those blood powers of yours are a non-starter for Middle America. There's no four quadrant appeal there. I thought that was, pretty funny, given the circumstances. And that's one thing I love about the boys. There's so many funny lines. I mean, just from the very beginning, they're talking about A-Train being drafted, and then they show this clip of Stillwell, and she's like, and with A-Train going number 1, that proves that we live in a post-racism world. It's just like
Okay.
the message that Vought tries to sell is just like
Man.
it's laughable.
It's
We have
so good.
Go ahead, Tristan.
we always have to remember, like, this is a satire.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
the
of course.
boys, the
Yeah.
whole boys universe. I think it's
Yeah.
easy to forget because of like the action
Right.
aspects of it, and the way they present the satire. I mean, I think this is the point of satire. They present it in such a serious fashion,
Yeah.
because that's how you can imagine. That's how so many conversations in sports, in entertainment, just any type of entertainment industry go. It's like, oh, does that play in Jacksonville? Like,
Yeah.
like we have to think about these demographics and the
Right.
way like political beliefs affect really everything. And I think that's another brilliant part of not just this show, but the boys too, just the whole universe.
Mhm.
Is like you can call it satire, but these things are really happening. And we also live
Yeah.
in a world now where satire honestly doesn't have much of a place. Like everything's so ridiculous
Yeah.
in so many different aspects that yeah, it's satire. It's funny. We're ridiculing, but are you really ridiculing if these actual conversations are really happening?
Yeah.
So like
Mhm.
we always have to remember this is satire, even though it's really not at the same time. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's they're showing like shining a mirror. They're putting a mirror in front of us, and they're saying, but they're just funnier people that are telling us the story. You know what I'm saying? Like it's our reflection. It's just
Yeah,
it's made in Hollywood, but it's not too far off from like our actual world minus the superpowers.
exactly. And that's what I really appreciate about the boys, because in a world where I feel like everything has to be so PC, especially with our entertainment, like network stuff, obviously, it's so refreshing to see that clearly no fucks are being given and they're just going for it, right? I mean, you talk about it on a level of action, a level of violence, but to actually attack like the things that are really happening in the real world and to make it satire, right? But like y'all have said, it's not that far off from the real world that we live in, and that's what just it it's great, but it's also really sad at the same time somehow. But damn, it's I love
It's
this
breaking
show.
down the fourth wall, basically.
It is. It really.
That's what I mean. That's
honestly
what really
is.
what The Boys is. It's like everything you thought you understood about how we present superheroes, their personas, what makes one more popular than the other is like it's really just demographics and like
Absolutely.
politics.
Marketing
And-
and branding and all that stuff.
Exactly.
But now that
Um,
we're kind of like closing it in on just a very small population and that of college students and how they operate and the importance that like social media has for this younger generation, and even when it's supposed to be like a PSA or like to say, oh, I'm sorry, but like they have to capture it on video, otherwise it's meaningless somehow in their head. You know what I'm saying? Like to showcase that, I'm like, oh my God, that is just so real. It's so true. And like I said, I have so much appreciation for Kripke and who's the other one? Help me out, Justin. McFarlane? Not McFarlane.
No, it's Seth.
Seth. Yeah, that guy. I have an appreciation for the two of them.
Yeah.
I know you should, but it's fine.
Yeah. Evan Goldberg, Craig Rosenberg, they developed the show with Kripke. Yeah.
Yeah. I have so much appreciation for these guys because of the fact that they're just like, fuck it. We're just gonna go for it. And they do a great job every single time. The shock and awe factors, and I know we're gonna talk about that because there were some shocking moments in these episodes. Good God.
Yeah. We can actually
crazy.
transition to one right now.
Let's do it.
I mean, we're going to talk a lot more about Marie because she's definitely the main character of this series. But she has a roommate. Roommate is played by Lizzie Broadway, who I've only seen in one other thing. She was in a movie on Apple TV Plus recently with there's a movie called Ghosted that has Chris Evans and what's her name? I can't think of the actress's name. She's very famous. Anyway.
Anna de Armas.
Anna de Armas, yeah. It's Chris Evans, Anna de Armas. Well, Lizzie Broadway.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not great. But Lizzie Broadway plays Chris Evans' sister. She's barely in the movie, like in maybe 5 minutes of the movie. But that's the first time I'd seen her. She's great in this role as Emma, who is also her AKA Little Cricket. She is a soup who has the ability to shrink, and she shrinks Brittany by purging. And we get to see her in action. And then also you can explain how she gets back to being big.
It's a really, listen, I've said it already. They went for it, but they really went for it and went over the top with these abilities for superheroes, right? We talked about Marie with the blood powers, but she has to basically self-harm in order to get the blood to wield it, right? With Emma, again, another very real life thing that happens across the board. Doesn't matter your demographic or not. People who have body issues, right? But it's not really a body issue that Emma is dealing with. It's the only way she knows how to make herself small. I mean, she's already a petite young woman as it is, but in order to shrink down to like the size of a gerbil or like even that of an ant, let's say, she has to purge everything out of her system and gradually become smaller and smaller. But there's consequences to that, just like real life purging. You start losing enamel, on your teeth, and your organs are going to start having problems and things like that. But she's kind of like, listen, I've heard all this before. It's not a problem. This is the only way I can channel my superhero power, right? And it's just like, damn, you were dealt like the short end of the stick for this. Like this, like no pun intended on this one. I'm a short person, so like no pun intended. But yeah, I really felt for her because she seems like such a sweet person and just very, bubbly and like very welcoming to Marie, who clearly grew up without her family, not having the things that all the other kids have. And she's just very open and very warm, but she too has her struggles, right? um the guy that she meets at the bench, and he's like, "Oh, hey, you're Cricket. I watch your YouTube. You have like I have like 1 million subscribers. By the way, we would like to get it to 1 million subscribers one day, so be sure to, follow us, like this video,
Yeah.
help a girl out, and the guys out too, the boys." But the dude like takes advantage of her. And so there's clearly just a lot going on with Emma. I would definitely say self-esteem issues. I can't It's not really a body issue, but it kind of is. I don't know. She's got a lot going on, but
I
hey,
like
she holds her own too.
I like how the show is kind of weaving in these teens, a lot of the things that afflict teens, basically, right? Just with Marie, it's the self harm, like you said, Brittany. With Emma, it's it's on the nose, but it's like, hey, they're all kind of self harming themselves in order to use these powers.
Absolutely.
Like she had to purge and like literally take everything out of her body, which kind of mirrors a lot of these eating disorders, weight issues that a lot of teen girls face. With Kate, like the way she understood her powers is like literally being mean to her brother, and
yikes, yes,
passing them all, and that was fucking depressing. Like while she was telling that, but it gives it its own spin because we don't really see it too much on the boys. Like we know A-Train, he has heart issues, obviously from running so fast, but we don't get a lot.
Well, that's also taking the extra V.
Well, that too. But we don't really see like the downsides of the powers with them and like the use of those powers. So it adds a different weight to the show because we understand that they're going to have to use these powers for different things, but it also makes us as the audience cognizant of what happens when they use it and how like it's a give and take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a trade-off that you don't see in superhero stuff very often. Usually, obviously the Seven, which is in the boys' universe, is based off the Justice League, and everyone in the Justice League is almost a god. Wonder Woman, Superman. I mean, Batman is not but he's the richest man in the world and is a ninja and he's a genius, and everyone is like
ninja,
super powered, but you don't see the downside to it. And in this show, I mean, for Emma to use her power, she has to like make herself vomit multiple times to get to whatever size she needs to be. And, like we said, for Marie, she has to slice her hand. And, Kate, like you referenced, Tristan, she is a mind empath. So she can just like touch somebody and tell them, like she wears gloves, but if she takes the gloves off, she touches someone, she can tell them to do whatever she says they have to do, or they do it. But she can only do that so many times before she like almost dies.
Like a fucking aneurysm.
Yeah. You could see the blood, bloodshot eyes. It was just like, whoa.
Even like Golden Boy, who is presented to be like the next Homelander, he's like a Human Torch, Johnny Storm kind of character where he just like lights, it becomes a ball of fire or whatever and can fly and is super strong. There's obviously a trade-off with him too, because like, I think
he can't keep his clothes.
Well, yeah, he can't keep his clothes. I mean, they could obviously create a suit, maybe, which they talk about in the future if there were a future for him. But
spoiler alert.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the only one so far that I've seen is maybe Andre, who is Andre Anderson, who is the son of a former suit Polarity, which we didn't meet in the boys, but he must have been a part of the Seven, like maybe 10 years before the boys started, I guess.
I don't know if he was part of the Seven because they pegged A-Train to be the first black man, and Polarity.
Oh, that's right. Okay, he
black
wasn't.
Man.
Okay,
so he might have just been
right.
He just might have been a soup who did well at Godolkin, or maybe he's just someone who is just very much invested in Godolkin because his son is there and he wants his son to be ranked, number one.
Yeah, that's a good call. There's at one point they show like a picture of Andre, and he's kind of in like an A-Train like suit. It's like when he was younger. But yeah, you're right. He never made the Seven, but he was like, like regionally, I guess he was like a superhero. Or you're right, he was for his time at God U, and now he's like one of the, is he a trustee? He's on the board or something. He's high up there. He's trying to get, his son, in the Seven.
Yeah.
But talking about Andre's powers, Andre has the power to kind of like, manipulate metal, but maybe kind of like, I guess maybe like Magneto, I didn't really see like, is there a downside to his power? Tristan, did you notice that?
Well, he's only used them twice.
Right.
And I think it was the same episode, honestly.
And it resulted in a death of near death of one person.
Right. Well, no. So he used them in episode 1,
Yeah.
right, when they went out,
Mhm.
Right.
and then he used it in episode 3, when the people bust in as he was like looking at the Brinks laptop.
The laptop.
Outside of that, I don't think he's used it that much. So we haven't really seen the downsides, but I'm sure there's something.
See, I didn't make the connection of metal. I just thought that maybe he was just kind of like a what is it, like Jean Grey? She's telekinetic, but she also can manipulate objects. I was thinking something along those lines, but the metal thing kind of makes more sense now, obviously. But it didn't, to me, that wasn't clearly defined, or maybe I'm just an idiot, but it's fine. But with Andre, so kind of like the ranking and points that are very important for the boys at Vought, right? The same system exists at Godolkin. Like Justin said, Golden Boy, who's played by Patrick Schwarzenegger of all freaking people. You get the Terminator's son to be Golden Boy, right? And you think, oh, this dude's going to be like the main character. No, he's not. I mean, talk about that. But then the number 2 is the gender fluid Jordan. And to me, I also had a difficult time trying to understand. I mean, I understood that this superhero is both male and female, or chooses to be, one over the other at any given point. But it's like, but what's your superhero? And then finally, when we got to see the fight between Golden Boy number 1 and Jordan number 2, don't know if Jordan has a superhero name, just Jordan. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't think they haven't mentioned a name yet. Yeah.
Okay.
But really, the only one I think that has a name is Golden Boy.
Golden Boy. Yeah.
I agree.
Golden
Yeah.
Boy, yeah.
Although I do appreciate Andre trying to come up with a superhero name for Marie, Bloody Marie, and then Coagula.
Coagula.
Yeah.
That one killed me. That one absolutely killed me. And I'm like, yes, go with that one. That one works. But yeah, to see the number 1 and number 2 fighting it, duking it out, and what have you, was really cool, because clearly Jordan is exceptionally strong in both male and female form. So it's like, cool, but that doesn't last for very long.
Right.
No, and the thing about these characters is right away there's a closeness to all these characters. Golden Boy, he, like, it's in the name. He's the number 1. He's going to be the number 1 pick or whatever. He's going to be heading to the 7 for sure. You've got his girlfriend, which that's Kate. Andre's like his very good friend. And then Jordan is their friend. They're this like kind of like little team. And they kind of, Andre kind of recruits Marie to go out with them and hang out with them. And, they've already kind of created like their mini like super team at the college level, but much like the 7, they have their own issues, with killing people and all this stuff. Drugs. Yeah. They're on drugs. They have superpowers, and it's a crazy combination.
Yeah.
And then we have the backstory, which is really a big part of this. The first 3 episodes is Golden Boy. His brother is his brother Sam. He thinks that he died 3 years ago, that he committed suicide, because he was like in this asylum or whatever. He was with the
Sage Grove,
right, which we saw in season 2 of The Boys. And we come to find out that his brother is very much alive, and he's being kept in a facility they're calling the Woods, which is underneath the university. And it seems like his brother, it seems like Sam has like these, I don't know, he's just incredibly strong. Like he can just punch metal and punch through concrete. Like he's but also there is the downside, I think, that having his powers is he has some mental instability. Now also he's being tortured, so that probably increases that too. But I think
A
the
little bit.
way, yeah, I think the way they kind of used the misdirect because, like you said, we all thought, oh, well, Golden Boy, he's the next Homelander. He's like going to be the star of the show. And it's like, no, it's the brother that we don't even know about is actually not going to be the star per se, but he's going to be a big plot point. I thought that was really well done. That kind of misdirect and then to lead us. And then now, our new little team is now trying to find the brother after, Golden Boy killed himself, which was also a very shocking moment, for the first
Yeah.
episode.
So I want to talk really quickly about that first sort of introduction we have of Golden Boy and Sam. And I don't mean the literal, like we see Sam running through the campus and he's tackled, by Andre, not tackled, but Andre and Marie help get him restrained.
Because they don't know who he is. Yeah.
They don't. They just think it's some rando who's, just running through campus. But when Golden Boy is in his, I think his dorm, he starts hearing, or he's been hearing his name being said, Luke, right? Luke, I'm your father. But he's hearing his name in various places. And then he finally has like a vision. He has a vision of a boy in the woods setting, right? And the boy's telling him, like, basically, come find me. I'm alive. But it's strange because the story that we see unfold in these episodes, Sam is presumably a teenager or a young man. I don't know if he's older or younger than Golden Boy, but we see Golden Boy and Kate visit Sam at Sage Grove 3 years prior to this storyline taking place, and he doesn't look like that little boy that Golden Boy had a vision of. So I'm like, what's all that about? Because if he knew that his brother committed suicide at more or less the age that he, last
Right.
saw him. So what's with the little boy in the vision?
I think, and I may need to rewatch, but remember Golden Boy, he also talked about Luke, he talked about having these dreams. And he keeps waking up out of these dreams. So I don't know if it's I think with Luke, it's a dream. I don't think it's a flashback because I know Kate has a similar dream as well. Again, I don't know if that's flashback or if she's just dreaming or like something, whatever nightmares Luke was having is transferred to her. But I can't tell if it's a like a literal flashback of something that happened, or if this is just like a nightmare that both of them share. I can't tell.
It just seems very strange to me, and I hope it's something that could be explained because I know there was made mention. I think Kate had said it about, well, didn't Sam have like a history with schizophrenia or something like that? So because then I started thinking, well, is Sam like sending these visions to Luke, but it's in the form of this like little, you see what I'm trying to say? Like I'm not connecting the dots about like why we're seeing this little boy in a vision, presumably a vision, not so much a dream, but and then we see Sam for who he is or was when Luke last saw him at Sage Grove. You see what I'm saying? Like I don't know. It seems like a bit of a disconnect and not completely fleshed out.
Yeah, I mean it seems like it happens very fast where so Brink, like I mentioned before, is this highly respected professor at Godolphin, and he's kind of beloved by most of our main characters, right? He's obviously Golden Boy and Jordan and I guess maybe Andre and Kate to maybe a lesser degree, but
well, definitely Marie. She's like all
right,
about.
right, yeah. He's kind of like this, like he's like this, he knows more about superheroes than anybody or whatever. So it seems pretty quick. It happens pretty fast where Golden Boy finds out that his brother actually is alive and is is a part of this, is trapped in this woods facility, and he finds out, kind of off screen that Brink is involved, and then he goes and he engulfs himself in flames and hugs Brink and kills him.
Gives him a hug.
Yeah. Of course, Marie is, in the wrong place, the wrong time. She sees that happening because she's going to talk to Brink because he had her expelled for saving that woman that you mentioned earlier that Andre almost killed mistakenly at that club. Well, Marie, using her blood bending power, she saved this woman's life, but her up and coming soup friends, they bounced because they didn't want to get in trouble and didn't want to get caught on being filmed.
And
like,
she's the
stealing-
scapegoat.
Yeah, so she's made to be the scapegoat, even though she's also the hero. And like I said, Golden Boy then goes after her because she saw what happened with Golden Boy and Brink. Then Jordan steps in and helps Marie, and then obviously we get to the point where Golden Boy commits suicide. But first, he tells Andre, so what is this? He says something about his dad. He's like, your dad has
Your dad has it.
Yeah, your dad has it. Yeah, and I like it's a very good episode, but I thought that part was like they like went through that super fast. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Tristan? It seemed like that was like a lot of like story that was packed into like 7 minutes of action.
To the point where when Andre and Kate find the phone in basically his dad's statue, like I had completely forgotten that Luke whispered that to him before he, killed himself.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot. There's a lot
Yeah.
going on in these episodes. We do need like more of a pause point, I guess, on some of these major plot points.
Yeah.
They're trying to like explain certain things, like the dean. Who was she talking to? She was talking to somebody where she like it was like exposition, like kind of explaining a lot more things. We need more pausing and just explaining, like, okay,
Right.
what is this? What's happening here? Because it just kind of moves from plot point to plot point. We're used to it because we're boys fans, but like,
Yeah.
it helps.
Mm-hmm. I think for considering that was just the first episode, they gave us a lot of story, but it was a lot of story that ended on a very interesting cliffhanger. With the very fact that Golden Boy, ranked number 1 at Godolkin, who's pretty much a shoo-in to being part of the 7, commits suicide in I'm not trying to glamorize it, but in a stunning performance. Like, my God, for him to flame on, if you will, and rise up into the air and then just like go. I mean, chunks of him are just flying everywhere and people are freaking out. And it's like, I was not expecting to see that for an ending. I mean, did either one of y'all anticipate seeing one of these main characters just go out like that? Like, I sure as hell wasn't.
No.
I'm a Game of Thrones watcher. So like the concept of
that's
a
fair.
main and a presumed main character protagonist dying either in the first episode, first season, it's beyond me now. I did kind of see it coming. I did not see it coming, but I did was able to like kind of guess it that he was going to die at the end of this. Once you just saw like how manic he was when he was killing Brink, like you could tell like it wasn't really him. Like something was kind of guiding him through that. He wasn't listening to reason. Like he was completely different than the Luke that we saw literally the night before when he was talking to Marie on the balcony of Seven Tower.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really implausible to think that he would harm himself because of this manic state that he was in. I wasn't shocked. Like you said, like the performance of how he did it, so public, that kind of went against the persona and the image that he had cultivated. So in that first episode, that was a little shocking. But like the actual death, it's the boys universe. Like,
and that's fair. I wasn't expecting that for the first episode. I mean, we started off with a bloody massacre in the beginning, and then we have a different, bloody outcome with the ending. So it's just like, that was a lot. That was just a lot to take for episode number 1. And then it's like, all right, let's go on to the next episode. Let's
Right.
do it. Let's just keep going. I mean, that's one thing that the show does extremely well,
Mhm.
very similar to that of Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 6. Cliffhangers were just off the charts, and it makes you want to just keep watching, which for me, to go against Justin's argument of dropping the first 3 episodes on day 1, I'm okay with it, because it's like you end an episode, the first episode like that, I want more. Like, give me more right now. So waiting weekly is going to kill me, but it's fine. But these shows just leave you shock and awe, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and there's a couple more of those points I wanted to hit before we move on to the second episode. Some other shocking scenes before Golden Boy, before his death at the end of the first episode. Earlier in the episode, he has like this workout, this combat arts workout where he fights this guy, and he like literally pulls the guy's arms off, and you're like, what is going on? And then they just reattach the guy's arms, and it's like, good job. Next time maybe you'll get the upper hand next time. Like, that was such a shocking, very shocking scene. Want to touch on, we didn't exactly spell it out, but earlier we were talking about Emma. She meets this guy, and he has a request for her. He wants her to get small. She gets small so she can hang off his dick. And that is much like the termite scene, or not much like it, but similar to the termite scene
Oh,
from
Yeah.
season 3. We see her hanging off.
that was the
guy's-
first episode too, wasn't it, for season
first
3?
It was
episode.
the first
First
episode.
episode.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So if there's a small character, you know where they're going to end up at some point in the boys.
Not this small character over here. No.
Some type of orifice.
Right.
Man,
So I mean, I thought that was a pretty shocking scene. I mean, not again.
that was
we've seen-
terrible.
but
That was terrible.
I didn't expect it to be like that. But a credit to the Emma character. She's so she made it a very entertaining scene, even though obviously it's super ridiculous, and I'm sure it was crazy to film
Emphasis on
that.
ridiculous.
Right, there you go.
Yes.
Just a couple other points I wanted to throw out real quick. So the university is named Godolphin U, and it's named after John Godolphin, who is in the comic books of the boys, he's the founder of a superhero team called the G-Men. But from all I've read, it seems like the Gen V storyline is an original storyline,
Mm.
not really based on the comics. They took ideas from the comics, but they basically created new characters. So it's not, and obviously the G-Men is the boys' version of the X-Men. So, and you can kind
Well,
of see X-Men type stuff at Godolphin with gifted students and stuff like that. So,
Well, at least the university wasn't named after someone whose last name began with a C, because then it would be Seaman.
there you go. There you go. We saw that the some characters that we've seen in the boys universe are, Crimson Countess. We saw her in season 3. The School of Performing Arts is named after her. And then the crime fighting school is named after Lamplighter, who was a key character in season 2. So I thought that was kind of cool. We could see their statues. We see a Soldier Boy statue a couple of times. Obviously, Homelander has a statue, and Polarity, the character that we mentioned earlier, he's one of the prominent statues.
Does Deep have one? The Deep?
Not that I saw,
Hope
but
not.
he might have.
It it was funny because I think it was during either the marketing video for Godolphin, which by the way was done extremely well with
Yeah.
the whole I'm super focused, I'm
Right.
super this, I'm super that. I'm like, love the play on words. That's as someone who's in marketing, it's like I love it. Anyway, but either it was that or something that was just running in the background, but you see the number ones from Godolphin who have gone into the 7, the number ones being Queen Wave, A Train, and then you have number 6, the Deep.
right. Yeah.
I was like, my boy can't get any break whatsoever.
He
Like,
still made the
Evan,
7 though, right?
he
still made the
did,
7,
but
yeah.
like barely. Didn't even
Um,
break top 5. Damn.
one character we didn't talk about in the first episode that I think we might talk about in the next couple there's a character named Justine who she's a terrible character. She's
Did not like that
apparently
bitch.
right. She's a failed well, I don't know, not a failed actress, but she's an actress. And did y'all catch the reference where she took a shot at WandaVision? I thought that
She
was really
did.
funny, where she said she was working on a VOT Plus show that's really a meditation on grief told through 70 years of sitcoms, and Zach Braff is directing. I thought that was
I missed
Fantastic.
yeah,
that.
She
yeah,
said it very quickly, but she's also
yeah,
got like a very kind of like monotone type of voice, so it's kind of
right,
easily to just like
yeah.
tune her out.
And to me, the
Also, what's her
funniest lines,
superpower? What's her superpower? To be a bitch? Like what the fuck?
yeah, yeah, and of course, then she turns on Emma very quickly in episode 2. But yeah, it's not clear what her power is. Honestly, I don't really understand that. And maybe she doesn't have.
Fake soup. That's what she is. She's
There
a
we go.
fake soup.
There we go. So
Don't like her.
I don't know. But oftentimes in this show, the funniest lines are just like in the middle of a spiel, and so it's kind of hard to retain. Like I was able to watch the episodes twice, but yeah, there's so many like clever things that are said, but they're said so quickly and like off the cuff that you just kind of, and there's so much story being thrown at you that you're like, it's kind of dizzying, and you're just like, okay, that was kind of funny. Maybe I'll remember that, but I now I've got to deal with all these flying people and burning people and people are exploding and whatever. People are getting small. So needless to say, there's a lot to talk about in one episode, much less 3, which we're trying to do today. Um, but I digress.
Let's get
Moving
to
on,
it.
yeah. So moving on, Brittany, you want to talk about episode 2, just kind of like the general plot for it?
So with episode 2, because of what happened with the ending of episode 1 with Golden Boy committing suicide, everyone's pretty much in a state of shock, I think, especially those who witnessed it firsthand. Mind you, this is something we live in an age where everything's being recorded on your phone, so naturally it pops up everywhere on social media, and the news has footage of it, of course, and people are just trying to navigate their lives now that not only is their number one ranking superhero gone, their professor is also gone as well. And so Marie is now kind of in this position where she was getting a lot of attention after she saved the woman at the club that all of these kids were at, right? And so now she's also kind of trying to navigate what her life is going to look like now that she's got some attention. Before she'd never had a phone. She doesn't do social media. She doesn't, follow what all the other kids are doing. But now she's got like the social media guy from the campus who's like giving her a phone and giving her V pods, a V tablet, a V, like, all these basically Apple products, but it's, VOT related, right? And she's got like a schedule. She's going to do an interview. She's getting clothes. This is a very different life than what she grew up with, because she, yes, had a family at one point, but now it's so different from the life that she knew at Red River. And she was so narrow-minded of like, I'm here to do one thing only. Now I'm getting a little bit of attention. And I think there's that part of her that she doesn't want it, but she likes it at the same time. So it's very clear, even with the interview that she has. It should have been a duo, not duo. What's the word? She should have been with Andre doing the interview, but he stepped out for other reasons, and it was just her, and so she was getting all the attention, and kind of did Jordan a little dirty by kind of leaving Jordan out about what really happened between Golden Boy and that of Professor Brink.
I don't really blame her. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how much I blame her. Like, obviously, she should have, given Jordan some credit, shine. But again, like it's a lot more nuanced than that. Like, she's in a position where, remember, she can't go back. Like, that's what she told Brink. Like, she cannot go back to where she came from. Like, that completely destroys so much of like her ambition, so much of her self-esteem, how she feels about herself. So she's stuck between, trying to do what's right, what she understands is right and moral, but also like survival, right? Self-preservation. So it's really hard to blame her. Like literally, there's a script. Like we talk about like breaking the fourth wall. Like when we see people, in press conferences or interviews, politicians, entertainers, like so much of that is scripted. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's hard for them for people to deviate from.
By the way, this show is not scripted. This is 100% natural.
Completely 100%. But yeah, it's hard to break from that script when you also feel like indebted to the people who are giving you this opportunity. So like, that's a tough thing for any person to be in, especially a young person. Their brains aren't fully developed. Like, so like that's a hard thing to like really get away from and do your own thing on, even if it's for the right cause. So like, for me, I wasn't as quick to like judge her for that. Like that's an extremely tough position to be in.
I agree, especially because of the fact when Jordan does confront Marie after the interview and basically says, was it before or after? I genuinely can't remember. It must have been after.
Well, both. Yeah, she wanted her to, she was
so okay.
So
what I'm about to say is before the interview, because Jordan makes a point about how Jordan being Jordan is not welcomed or well perceived in Jacksonville. And I love Marie's retort about, I'm not their number one fan either, basically. Like you and we're in the same boat. Like you can't pull that on me because and it does go to show they have their struggles, right? Marie being a minority woman and Jordan being the gender fluid that I say they are, that's such a very, I won't say very new concept. It's something that's becoming more mainstream in the sense, and I don't mean mainstream as in a negative way, but we as a society are becoming more aware of it. We're, being more inclusive, but it's tough. It's tough being who you are, right? And then on top of that, you're a superhero and you may do all the great things, but at the same time, you're just not well liked or welcomed or whatever. So I understand why Jordan would say like, hey, give credit where credit's due, because I'm all about that, right? But when Marie decides at the very end, because she's rehearsing it kind of, right? She's sitting in the makeup chair and she's, reading the script, and it just doesn't seem very natural to her. But when she is looking at herself in the mirror and she's starting to talk about Jordan, it was Jordan who fought Golden Boy. It was Jordan who did this, Jordan who did that. That became more natural for her. But then when the moment of truth, she went with the script. And I'm like, damn, like I was rooting for you. Now I'm a little taken aback.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tristan said it well. She's in a tough spot, and it's, what do you do in that moment? It's, I don't know. I think maybe if she does give Jordan credit, does that maybe compromise what would happen in the future? As far as, obviously how the story's going to play out with, the undercurrent of this Woods facility and what's going on with that. So maybe that was part of it. I'm not sure.
Well, I think part of the reason that Marie did what she did was because of the fact that the interviewer, whoever, something Haley Miller or whatever her name was,
right,
totally caught her off guard by talking about her sister.
Right.
We reached out. Your sister had no comment, says she wants nothing to do with you. And that like cut Marie at no pun intended. Good God, Brittany. That just didn't set well with her. Right. And again, this drive of, I want to prove that I'm not a monster. This is my moment to prove that I was the hero, even though I didn't do anything. I was just, wrong place, wrong time. She decided that's more important, to for her to believe that she's not a monster, and then for her sister to believe that she's not a monster.
Yeah, and also she's being influenced by Dean Shetty, which we haven't talked about this character yet, but it's a character who, she's the dean of Godolkin, and she's like a former therapist. And as far as we know, she doesn't have powers, but she's kind of, the person in charge, and she obviously is aware of what's happening in the woods, and she's obviously directing that. So, um, Tristan, what do you think about this character and how she's, trying to manipulate um, Marie for fundraising reasons? And Marie is, I think, in the beginning, she's looking for someone to confide in, or to someone to fall back on, and it's very clear at the end of the episode that she knows that she's being used by this woman, this Dean Shetty.
Yeah, and I think Dean also believes that she's using Marie, and Marie doesn't understand. So like that's an interesting dynamic there. Like, I think there's something much more sinister in play. If you kind of look at the look she gives Marie, especially when like she gives her a hug, you can kind of see like these sinister eyes on her face. I think there's something much more sinister at play that Marie is going to be a part of. Maybe it has something. I'm pretty sure it probably has something to do with the wood thing that they keep talking about. But it's interesting because she portrays herself as like a therapist, somebody, like I said, to confide in. But like, I think she's there to like gain information. I don't fully know what her motives are. I just know her motives are definitely untrustworthy. She's not somebody to be trusted. The biggest thing for me was like, she made a comment when she went in to check on Sam in his cell. But she called them like animals, right? She was talking about Brink being killed. It's like, hey, if you hang around wild animals for so long, you're gonna get bit. So like, it's interesting how the people who work at this university and work around these suits, how they feel about them. And like, the fact that they're kids does not inform, like, it doesn't like offer any sympathy or empathy towards, or compassion towards how they feel. Like these kids have lived like hard lives, right? Yes, they have these abilities, and they're elevated above like normal humans, but that's a hard thing to deal with. And like these kids, teenagers, young adults, whatever you want to call them, like they're trying to grapple with these abilities and everything that comes with it, with the stress, the increasing stress, completely unhealthy stress that comes with it. And that comment alone just lets me know that she can't be trusted with any information that Marie might tell her and anybody else. So I think she plays her role well. The way she talks to Marie and tells her like, hey, like I need you for fundraising purposes, when it's probably something much more bigger there. But she can't be trusted at all.
Yeah. Well, it's also like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, she very much reminds me of the councilwoman from The Boys, right? And kind of, I'm not sure if she has any superpowers of her own, kind of like the councilwoman from The Boys. I can't remember what her name is from the show, but
vice president.
Is she now vice president?
I believe she became the vice president at the end of season 3, right?
Well, the one
running for vice president,
the one that Huey was working for, and she turns out she's a soup that went through Red River, has a crazy ass ability, blowing people's heads off. Sure.
Yeah, Victoria Newman is the character.
Victoria Newman.
Yeah, Victoria Newman. Yeah.
Yeah, that woman. I don't know if this Dean is hiding any superhero abilities of her own. There's definite manipulation going on because she knows and reads. If she was a behavioral therapist, then she can see right through Marie, that how they say made of steel or whatever. She can see right through that because Marie is vulnerable. Marie has been without a family for at least the last 7-8 years of her life, and is, without admitting it, she wants someone to be there for her. She wants someone to love her, to care for her, to nurture her, if you will. And Marie quickly turns to the dean. I mean, they're having breakfast, for God's sakes, one day, just kind of out of the blue before this fundraiser. And the dean makes her waffles or pancakes and puts like little chocolate chips on them and makes them all like cute. And she's like, "Oh, I used to do this for my daughter." And it's like, used to. It's like, okay, there's a story obviously there.
Yeah.
She must have lost a daughter. I'm guessing she gave her daughter Compound V. It went sideways. What if her daughter is Victoria Newman? I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Good God. But clearly the dean has ulterior motives for Marie. She's I think she's going to do whatever it takes to achieve whatever goal is that she has in mind, because she said it to oh God, what's her name? The redhead from Vought. I'm so bad with these names.
That's
right
the
now.
thing is like,
no, not Stillwell.
So Ashley Barrett.
Ashley.
Yeah. So
Ashley,
who is she's the CEO of Vought, and it
right.
seems like the dean is at odds with Ashley. So that's an interesting wrinkle.
Because she makes a comment about how Vought hired me because I'm a problem solver.
Right.
And we're absolutely going to see that unfold with whatever plans that she may have for Marie, or if Marie is going to foil those plans. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it has something to do with the woods, I don't know how they're going to be able to tie all that in together. But it's the boys. They're going to be able to tell multiple stories, I'm sure, and it's going to tie in well, and it's going to make sense.
Yeah. And then for the second big plot line for this story was the fact that you had Andre and Kate investigating Luke's death. They also hook up. Was it this episode or was it episode 3? I'm trying to remember.
It was
episode 3. Early episode 3.
Oh,
early episode 3, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So Andre and Kate they're trying to figure out what happened with Luke. They find the secret recording that Tristan mentioned before. It was they found it in the crotch region of of Andre's his dad's the
statue.
Polarity statue. So kind of weird place to keep that. It's a
By
video.
the way,
go ahead.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Sean, who plays Polarity.
Yeah.
I'm like, they got old boy from Save the Last Dance. I was like, no way. Like, is his superhero power like dancing or something? I just want. He looks great, by the way. The facial hair, it's all working for him. He looks fantastic. But to see his character be like that of, oh, my son is the best, and we're gonna do whatever it takes to make sure he's number one. Yeah, he's another one to maybe potentially to watch out for, along with the dean. Continue.
He called Luke's death an opportunity for Andre to advance. So
I mean,
and he seems to know something about the woods, which we'll talk about a little bit, or I guess that's in episode 3. But so in episode 2, they learned that Sam, Luke's brother, is still alive and he's being kept in the woods. And so then Andre goes on a little mission. He gets into Brink's office, tries to get some information, and that plays a big part in how we get to the third episode. Is there anything else from episode 2 that y'all want to touch on before we move on?
No, I think we covered pretty much the majority of it. I think was it in this episode where Justine, what's her name? Just the bitch that we don't like.
Yeah, Justine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was episode 2.
Yeah. She found out about Emma's little secret and decides to do like a PSA. And I'm like, really? Like, that's not your story to tell. Which again is another problem with social media these days, and they just pretty much hit the nail right on the head with people doing that. They want to try and do a just service to people, but they're exposing
Kurt Schilling over here.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but yeah, that was we don't like this bitch. She can go die. It's okay.
Yeah, I guess we should mention there are a couple of pretty gruesome scenes. They're both at the very end of episode 2. You have a janitor who just happens to stumble upon some of these guards who I guess work for the Woods part of the facility, and they just brutally slit the guy's throat, which Andre sees. Andre's on the stairs. He's trying to kind of hide away, get away from them. Then the guards they find Andre, and Kate makes the save when she encourages the guards to perform sexual acts on each other using flashlights. So that was
Whoa.
that was
Also,
yeah.
Also, the dude that she told to pretty much go whack himself in the nuts with a baseball bat every hour on the hour and scream out Jumanji.
Yeah.
And we finally do see that at some point, Jumanji. It's like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Last thing I just want to mention about episode 2 is one of the funniest lines from the episode is Ashley is talking to one of the board members who's a big fan of Jordan, and they're trying to determine who should be ranked now that Luke is gone, who should be in the top one, and the board member mentions or pitches Jordan, and Ashley says, "Oh, a bi-gender Asian with pronoun fuckery, great idea. Try selling that to Dallas and Fort Lauderdale." God, and then when they decide that okay, Marie's going to be in the top 10, she's the first freshman ever in top 10. Ashley's thinking is, oh, that's good. We'll score some points at the NAACP. That's like this is just.
But these are things that people actually say.
That's the thing. Like that actually happens.
Yes.
Like we think it's like obviously
Yes.
terrible, but there's a funny component to it. But you're right, Tristan. Like this is what is discussed behind the scenes that we don't get to see. They're just showing it to us in a, it's a parody, but it's like
so on point.
It's probably closer to reality than we want to
It's
admit.
so real.
Yeah.
It's so real. Yeah.
Also, I do like the just the fact that everyone on campus just wants to take a selfie because they're all trying to get these like social media points, and it's just everywhere they go. Can I get a selfie? And it's like
I'm here with my best friend Marie. Like,
yeah,
dude, really?
It's so like again, it's a parody, but it's like not super far off. You even have the one girl who is fake crying, and then she has like her arms stretch.
Yeah.
And then once she like, changes her selfie stick arm back to normal, she stops crying like that because it's obviously fake.
So true. Like for all the people who say they go to protests and, stand for the cause or whatever, and they're just there for the selfie moment. It's very disgusting. It really honestly is.
Yeah. And then Marie was labeled the guardian of a Godolkin. I thought that was kind of a funny play on words. So
oh my god,
anyway,
that PR person's something else. I swear.
Yeah, all the PR people, the social media guy, he's like, oh, you're killing it on Twitter, right? He's like, hashtag Black Girl Magic.
Yeah,
these are things that people really do say.
Yeah.
So then we get to the final episode, or the final of the 3, and it's we start with a flashback. And we see that, and in the flashback, we get a gory scene. We see Luke go to visit his brother Sam, and the guard
love sausage.
Yeah, we see love sausage briefly. Yeah, which is a callback from season 2 of The Boys.
Oh,
and we see this guard. They're trying to like, I don't really understand what's happening because they already have Sam like in his like holding pen or holding cell or whatever. Yeah. Then they try to like, tase him or something. He punches the guard through his chest and it does an uppercut. It goes through the guy's neck and the fist is coming out of the guy's mouth. I mean, it's like brutal. And once again, like this is like in the first 5 or 3 minutes of the episode.
It's intense.
They don't waste any time with the shock value. Tristan, what'd you think about that part of the episode?
That's something that sticks with you.
Yeah,
like
it does.
From every time I see Sam now, I'm going to think about him punching through that guy's mouth, basically. Yeah, that was it. Like, I guess we're gonna continue finding out like just how strong, just how volatile Sam is. He doesn't really have the same level of like training, I guess, that the other Supes have. So like he's like literally a wild animal suit, you know, which only makes him more dangerous. Which I guess is good to see the contrast once Emma kind of makes a connection with him when she sneaks into his cell, and we get to see how Sam is, you know, I guess the vehicle for him to be a major part of the season going forward is like, you know, the dichotomy between him being on his meds and he's a lot more calm, a lot more tranquil, a lot more willing to listen to reason. When he's off, though, he's as volatile a younger Soup that we see in this universe. But I can't get that image out of my head like at all. I'm surprised we waited this long to talk about it, honestly.
Well, that's the thing. When there's 3 episodes, you have 3 episodes full with just like all of these like shocking, just brutal deaths and crazy moments, and they don't waste a lot of time.
Just when you think that they couldn't get more creative about the way people die,
Yeah.
and then you do something as simple as that. I say simple as if that just happens daily, but just a simple act of an uppercut. But hey, let's do it through the chest, but the fist kind of rests inside the mouth. Like, cool, you know. And we'll go with that. Yeah, it's a pretty. It leaves an impression, to say the least.
What would it take for you to be like a security guard around Suits? Like, how much would they have to pay you?
Yo,
$100 million.
$100 million. Yeah. But you know, you have to sign a waiver saying you may die, and we're not responsible for it, right?
Yeah, it'd be like may/probably, very likely to at some point. Yeah,
almost guaranteed.
That is a good point. How do they find these people to work at these facilities? Because
I can think of a couple people that I know that should probably take that opportunity.
Like there has to be like a Yelp or something, like a LinkedIn review.
Do not
like
recommend. 0 out of 5 stars. Oh man, yeah, that was quite the opening scene, and then you see Kate. Smart that they brought in Kate because of her ability to touch you and say simply sleep. You know, it kind of reminded me of Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy of chilling everyone the fuck out and just say sleep, and you know, they go to sleep. But yeah, Kate, I think that's when Kate wakes up from that dream. So it's like she's dreaming about something that had happened 3 years prior, and you know, she's there with Andre, and you know, they seem to have like they're very good friends, clearly, right? Her boyfriend, or her late boyfriend, and Andre were like best friends. You know, they were always saying to each other, "I love you," you know, this and that. Which I'm like, that's really nice. You know, when you can be friends with someone, same sex or otherwise, and just say, "Hey, I love you. Like, you know, you mean a lot to me. Or, you know, I really value you as a person." And they're both drawn together because of the shared loss that is Golden Boy, right? That is Luke. So it almost seemed very natural at one point for them to do the hanky panky. They're in mourning, okay? God, this is what people do, I guess. You know, I don't know.
Well, and then you know, the major like set piece or the set for this episode is they're doing a gala for the late Brink who died in the first episode. So
Think Brink.
Think Brink, yeah. So they're doing this like fundraiser, and so all of these characters end up kind of being invited, or they're supposed to attend this gala. And before we get to that part, though, we have we meet Emma's mother, and you kind of see like why Emma might have some body issues because her mom is just brutal. And we also meet Jordan's parents in this episode too, and the dad especially is not in favor of his son/daughter, you know, being anything but his son. So Tristan, I know earlier you wanted to talk about the parents, and they're really in like they're in the limelight in episode 3. So take it away.
It's important for us to like really talk about the parents because I think there are unseen major characters. Really not even just in this, and the boys as well. There's a backstory with the parents with pretty much every suit that we see.
Yeah.
right? Like, and the parents are usually the starting point. They're giving their children Compound V either out of ambition, out of like survival, like just the way out. Starlight's mother, like they're poor. And it's just those two. They're looking for a way out, and they're not really considering the consequences of giving these kids Compound V, and everything that comes with it. And the thing that's the most interesting to talk about me the most is like these young adult kids, whatever, however we're classifying them, because of the lives that they've had to live with these abilities and the way people look at them and the way they're isolated basically from society until they're ready to be presented as full-fledged, dolls and action figures and movie stars and local heroes, regional heroes. Like, the people they need the most are their parents.
Yeah.
Like, they need, like, they're dealing with, the same issues that young people deal with in general as humans, regular humans. And then you add these enhanced abilities, which have, positive and negative, effects on them. The people they need the most and the support they need the most are from their parents. Everything that they do is for limelight. Everything they do is for rankings. It's for like these quantitative measures of performance and perfection and all these things. And we know how the adverse effects that they has on younger people, like the self-esteem issues, the self-harm issues that come from that. So specifically Jordan's parents, on one end, they're super proud of him, the boy, the son,
Right.
because of the abilities and everything, how far it's taking him. But they're utterly ashamed of the girl that Jordan is, when they want to be, right? And like, imagine being Jordan and feeling like this sense of pride. I'm number 2, I'm top 10, blah, these things, but I can't be myself. I can't, or I can only be one part of myself to appease these people who there's clearly been issues with them as a family, because they keep referencing like the therapist said we should just listen and blah, blah, blah. And like, that's damaging. Like, just think about how damaging that is to Jordan, and how all of them really are dealing with the effects of their parents and their decisions. And they're the ones who are being labeled the monsters, but like, they never asked for this in the first place. Like, the parent, we have to talk about the parents.
Yeah.
And we don't really see much of the parents in these shows. We saw Starlight's mom. We see a little bit of, like, we see, A-Train's brother. But we don't really see a lot of the parents and their roles in like the egotistical, souped up monsters that they've created.
I mean, well, Homelander doesn't have any, so there's that.
Well,
Yeah.
no, he does have one that we know.
A parent?
Yeah.
Who's the parent?
Soldier Boy.
Soldier Boy.
Oh, well, that's right. Yeah, kind of. But I mean, like, but absent,
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
most
no.
part, obviously.
Right.
See,
Not
I
involved.
totally,
Yeah.
that just went over my head. I'm like, no, he's just a rando baby that, that just got injected and, whatever. Anyway, yeah, these parents, I swear, I genuinely felt for both Emma and Jordan, just because of how awful their parents are, right? I now I understand with maybe Jordan's parents, it's just probably more of a cultural thing, but with Emma's mother, the significance of, oh, well, you look a little shorter than you did last time, so you need to maybe up your calorie intake, and I have a measuring. I'm like, you're in public. Like, do you genuinely just not care about your child and her self-esteem and what you're doing to her? And that's why during the gala scene where Emma and her mother attend and they're talking to the PR person, and the PR is like saying, hey, I want to pitch a show to you. It's a reality TV that you're going to star in, but we're going to talk about your purging, your problems. And again, it's kind of hard to say it is a problem because again, that this is the way that Emma is able to get small. That's her superpower, right? She adamantly does not view it that way, right? And she again is feeling exposed, and they're trying to maybe spin it as a cautionary tale, and she's like, well, no, like this is just my life, this is what it is. And when the mother is basically saying, well, listen to what the PR has to say, and we're doing this for you, and blah 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 blah. And then Emma just kind of flipped it on her. She's like, she's the one who taught me. She's the one who started all of this, basically. And it's like, damn, like, I appreciate that she came after her mom in front of the PR person. And of course, PR person's just like eating it all up. She's like, God, what is with me in these puns? God damn. Just like, oh, this is going to be so fantastic, like for views and things like that. And of course, the mother got put in her place, right? Because Emma's like, fuck you, and walks away. But these parents are just on another level. And
everybody's so focused on the mission. It's like the
Mhm.
mission is getting to the 7, getting to this notoriety, fame.
Yeah.
And at certain points, each one of these parents, in some way, like Marie's parents got held accountable for their decision, in one way, and Emma's mother got held accountable in that moment in a different way, right? Like you would hope it wouldn't have to be like something violent, obviously, but
Right.
like these parents, like they're like the underlying subtext of the show. It's like we wouldn't have these suits if we didn't have parents who made the autonomous decision to have their children injected with this superhero serum and stuff like that. So
they didn't give their children a choice. And I understand, parents always want better for their children. I want you to have what I couldn't or didn't have, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know who would, maybe except Justin, would actively want to consume some sort of injection and then become a superhero and have the crazy, horrible abilities that like Victoria Newman and others may have. You know what I'm saying? Like, not all powers are good, or they're not using them for good, right? That's why Justin would be the ultimate supervillain. Just saying.
Hey, I'm 43 years old. I got nothing to lose. I might as well. I'll roll the dice. Like, give me all those shots and let's see what happens. I'll take my chances.
Fantastic.
We're talking about Emma and dealing with her mom. She had a kind of emotional journey also with Marie in this episode. They kind of had a falling out, but then they made up in the ladies' restroom. Brittany, tell me about what you think about that scene where Marie is wearing this like gown, basically this big red dress gown thing, and she admits, how do you pee in this thing? And that's how they kind of
you don't, okay?
Right,
you
right.
don't.
Yeah.
No, listen, wearing dresses, it's not an easy thing, and especially when you have almost a ball gown-esque type dress. That's a lot of yardage of fabric, and it's difficult to try to safely gather it all up without it falling into the toilet. So sometimes you need assistance, okay? Like, just either you don't drink anything for the night, that way you don't have to go to the restroom, or you get a gal pal and she's going to hold your dress up for you while you go number 1 or number 2, whatever you want to do, whatever. But yeah, it was a really vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
In a couple of ways. The obvious setting of being on the toilet, but also for Marie to come to terms with the fact that she maybe wrote off Emma a little too quickly, in the sense of, I'm only here for one thing. I'm not here to make friends or, do the typical college type life. Like, I want to get in, get out. I can't afford to go back to Red River. And that hurt Emma. Again, I talked about how warm and bubbly she is. And when Marie was initially expelled from the school, Emma was just kind of like, okay, what are we doing? Like, what are we drinking? Are we drinking vodka? Are we drinking this? And it's like, it's, 9:00 in the morning. It's like, well, it's 10:01 somewhere, like, I love that line. I thought that was a great line, but she was ready to go into action. Like, this is her roommate, this is her friend now, and it wasn't reciprocated. Right now, Marie has seen the damage that it has caused Emma, and she's apologizing for it. And Emma just like embraces her and is thankful for her. And it was a really sweet moment, a very vulnerable moment, but it was a sweet but kind of a funny moment overall.
Yeah.
But it's good that these two women are able to, sort out their differences and be friends, hopefully, and they're gonna have each other's back for what's to come.
And then we see Andre befriend Emma, and because as we've seen earlier in the episode, he's learned about the woods. He knows where it is. He just doesn't know how he could possibly, get in there and gain access. And so he meets Emma. He befriends her, and they kind of bond a little bit. And he
Kind of
explains-
uses her, okay? I don't know about befriending her, but
Well, I
he
mean-
definitely uses her. No, he uses her, okay? He's like, hey, I
Yeah.
know you have a problem, or it's being perceived as a problem, but I'm gonna need you to get small to help me out.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. We see that, and I thought it's pretty interesting the way they did that, where she gets small, and then he's explaining to her, what to do, and she's like, "Get it, got it, good." She's dancing around because she's been drinking and smoking, and so I think the actress that plays Emma is awesome in this role. But
I'll tell you, if I had dormed during my college years, I would have wanted to have a roommate like her. She sounds like a lot of fun. Either that, or I would have been that roommate. Just saying.
yeah, I thought it was really clever how she, the way she got into Sam's uh, prison cell, or whatever, is via the food tray, and she's small enough where she's like under the plate, and then Sam discovers her, and he like it takes the plastic cup that's on the tray and puts it over her. I thought that was like such a cool shot.
Mhm.
They really do a good job visually with this show, and they do things that I've never seen before, really, in any kind of like.
Just to get the scaling correct,
Yeah.
with making her appear extremely tiny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And she said she's actually getting smaller every time
Right.
she does it. She gets
Yeah.
even smaller.
Yeah, she is.
I wonder if conversely, like if she overeats, could she be like 10 feet tall? I mean, I probably not, but like, I wonder if it works that way. Because obviously, when she's really small, the only way she can get larger is to eat a lot of food, I guess. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Because she kind of has the Ant-Man thing where Ant-Man gets small, but Ant-Man can also become Giant Man. So hers is
Yeah, but-
way worse than.
But
his.
I like Sam's connection when they're talking, and he makes a reference to Alice in Wonderland. I was like, oh yeah, like that's one cookie is, or one thing says eat me, and the other is drink me. You're either gonna get super large or you're gonna get super tiny. So yeah. So real quick though, guys, we've got Yesenia here in the chat. We appreciate you being here. She says she has not watched Gen V yet. Listen, major spoilers we're talking about here. And she wants to know if the show is good or not worth the time. It is 100% worth your time. Stop what you're doing. Stop watching this, but eventually come back for the
turn this
replay.
off.
Turn this off. Come back for the replay after you watch the first 3 episodes,
Yeah.
and you'll understand that this show is 100% worth your time.
I think we all highly recommend all the boys content,
my God,
but this is
yes.
really good, and this is
So good.
it's happening right now. So yeah, definitely check it out, and then come back and check out our review of these 3 episodes.
So thank you for being here.
Yep.
But go away.
Go away. Come back.
We
Come back
appreciate
later.
it. Yeah, we appreciate it a lot.
Give us the like.
I thought it was really funny the part where because Sam, when he sees Emma, he thinks he's hallucinating because obviously he's on all kinds of different drugs and medications and stuff, and so he's asking her like, what's my favorite movie, and she's like, you're a white guy, so it's probably like Godfather, Star Wars, or Shawshank. That was such a funny.
Why did she say Fast and the Furious? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
but I love his answer. His answer is Waterworld. Tristan, my question for you: have you seen Waterworld?
I am not a white man. I have not. I have not seen it. No.
I've never seen it either, but Waterworld.
What? How? Wait. How am I the only person here who has actually seen it? And I'm, well,
You know what?
the census says I'm white, but I am not.
It was one of those movies where it was like super famous when it came out because it was like Kevin
Yeah.
Costner was like the
Terrible
biggest
movie.
star in the world, and it was like
Terrible.
it was a bomb, but it was very expensive. Now, in today's terms, it's probably like the 50th highest, expensive or most expensive movie ever. But back in 1995 or 93 or
Oh.
whatever, it was so expensive. And to me, it was one of those movies where it got such a bad rap. I never even gave it a shot. I've seen like parts and pieces of it, but I've never watched the
Rightfully
whole movie.
so. Rightfully so. I
Well-
will tell you, no. Run away, swim away. That's probably the Deep's favorite movie too. Let's just be fucking real.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've seen that movie and wish I never have. But here we are. I thought that answer was really funny as well. And when Emma's trying to convince him to leave with her, however, whatever that plan may be, and he's kind of like, no, I think it's better if I stay here. I'm on meds and I'm doing okay. And she's kind of challenging it, like, why are you gonna stay? And he goes, well, I have a beanbag. And she's like, okay, a beanbag is not a compelling reason to stay captive, Sam.
Yeah.
It's just not. No. You
The little
poor,
things, though.
sweet summer child. No.
The little
Sam.
things, always.
I know. But yeah, it's a bit of a unfortunate situation for Sam, just because of how we were first introduced to him, with him trying to escape this facility and getting caught by Marie. Well, not getting caught, but being challenged by Marie and Andre, and only to be tortured once again. And now he's in this kind of state of mind, like, no, I shouldn't leave, because if I do, they're gonna hurt me, or they're gonna do all the bad things to him, right? So I mean, what is your perception of Sam at this point, Tristan, and what all he may have to offer?
Like I said, there's something there. Like using Emma, who is somebody that we've seen is able to get other people to open up.
Mhm.
So like using her was genius, because we've established in the first 2 episodes that she is somebody who's charming. She's somebody who's affable. Like, she's somebody who people want to talk to, people want to be around. So like, it's easy for Sam. Like, just she has a natural affability that makes Sam open up to her, right? And not just tell her favorite movie, but like they talk. Like, you can see Sam in a human state, and she brings that out of people, right? Even Marie, like, who went from tough exterior to, hey, crying on a toilet, like hugging and crying on a toilet, like,
Exactly.
and allowing Emma to help her pee. Like, that's the level of vulnerability that we don't see from Marie really that often in these first 3 episodes. So not just that, but like, there's added bond that Emma has to save his life, killing the guard. And so like, that's going to add more of a connection between those two. So like, hopefully we just continue to see more of the humane part of Sam,
right,
and what he has to offer, the plot line, the story as a whole. How does he interact with, Kate and Andre and everyone else, Jordan, once he eventually gets out, because that has to happen at some point. So like, using Emma was I think was the best vehicle for that, because that's clearly a talent of hers, just being able to get people to open up, to let their guard down, to break walls down. Like, she's the perfect character for that. Like, that's clearly her defined role in this show.
Yeah, and I think in turn she feels better about herself. Like, she's not feeling used like she did with that guy, who only wanted her to get tiny because he wanted his dick to seem huge. With Sam, he's being very genuine and authentic about, like, I think you're really pretty, and just sweet little things. But sweet little things like that really matter to a young woman such as Emma. So Justin, we lost you for a second. We were talking about the dynamic between Emma and Sam, while he's trying to figure out if she's real or not, and just the importance of her being there to, bring out kind of like the best in people, if you will.
Yeah, you can definitely see that they're setting up something between those characters down the road, which and this show moves fast, so it might be the next episode, might be the first. I mean, like we can just go ahead and transition from that to the major moment in the episode when the guard comes into they find out that obviously someone is in
Breached.
someone's breached the woods. The guards come in to find whoever it is or whatever, and the guard is like is he shocking Sam? I can't remember if he's shocking or if he's
No.
using the hearing device or
No, I think so. What first happens is that the floor shocks Sam.
That's right,
That's why
the floor,
he got Emma to the shelf, and he told her, as soon as whatever happens, I guess to him, run, or the alarm stop or something like that, run. And she's like, "What? What are you talking about?" He gets shocked, because he's barefoot, falls over. Guard comes in, he's checking the place, and Emma's like, because she's tiny, she's hiding behind a stack of comics or magazines or whatever, and Sam starts to stir, and one can only imagine what would happen if Sam regained full strength. He probably bust a cap on on guard's ass, right?
Yeah.
But that's when the guard like kind of shocks him all over again to sedate him, and we're left thinking, okay, what's going to happen with Sam? And then Emma, like, I don't know where this girl got that courage to make the leap of faith that she did as a tiny itty bitty little blonde thing, but she leapt from that shelf, landed on the guard to crawl into his ear. Now, someone who's got ongoing ear issues right now, I was cringing the entire time. I'm like, oh my God, there's like a little person in my ear right now. And that's what I'm experiencing, right? No, girl like crawls through her way from one ear out the other, killing the guard. Again, you think that they can't come up with any more creative ways to kill off people, and they do. They do.
Yeah, she's covered in blood. The guy's ear blood. You've got, and like I read that the ear that they built a prosthetic ear for Emma to crawl out of. It was built practically on the set. It was 15 feet tall.
Wow.
And contained 1,000 gallons of fake blood. So,
Okay.
Yeah. And so the episode ends with bloody Emma looking up at these other guards that have come in there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, because I don't know. Like she's tiny and she's like covered in blood, and covered in blood is pretty much like a rite of passage for the boys. These shows, like every character has to be.
Yeah.
I think Huey might still have the record for being covered in blood the most, but that might get challenged this season on Gen V.
I don't know how one can top being inside a whale with the guts and such, but yeah, that they might top it. I have no expectations whatsoever, but I would not be surprised at all if they top it. But that's just one side of what's happening with this storyline about the woods. The other side is that Andre is kind of fighting within himself about being ranked number one now, pleasing his father, who obviously wants the world for him, but then also being an actual hero, like an actual true superhero who does good things. And so he's investigating the woods. That's why he got Emma involved. But when he asks his dad about it, and the dad's like, where did you hear this from? And you can see like this fear in his eyes. Obviously tells you he knows what's going on with the wood or about the woods. He might not know everything that's going on, probably does, but he warns his son, don't speak about this again. And it's like, ooh, what's going to unfold here?
Yeah, it should be interesting to see. Do you have any other things you want to mention for this episode before we wrap it up?
Brilliant.
Just quickly piggyback on what Brittany just said. Really is you can take what the dilemma that Andre is going through with his father and like all these different issues, wanting to be a hero, want to use his powers for good and not just for fame and notoriety, and apply that to all the rest of them, or at least the characters we know, like Jordan, Marie, Emma. Like they're all trying to figure out what to do with these abilities and how to use them for both prosperous and for these egalitarian like needs. So that's the inner conflict that we're seeing throughout the show, and like I can't wait to see like how each one responds to that inner conflict as we go forward.
Yeah, it's almost as we were talking about Andre, you can find the similarities of that with Starlight. Once she found out about Compound V was injected into the kids or whatever, and she too, like Marie, just wanted to be a superhero and do good, and she wasn't about the fame and the fortune and all that jazz. It kind of seems very similar to that of, like I just said, of Andre, and he wants to do more and be more than just some high-ranking soup, right? Or if he gets into rather the 7, then so be it. But like he actually wants to do good, and I think these kids hopefully want to do good and not just do it for the fame and fortune. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the storyline carries. I feel like there's going to be constant conflict with Marie specifically because she grew up without a lot, and now that she's getting a little bit of something, I think she's going to try to hold on to that. But then at the same time, she has this notion of, I don't want to be a monster, and I'm trying to prove that. There's gonna be a lot of conflict that's gonna.
She also has a big secret that the world doesn't know yet.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that this season could go, and also I just wonder, like, is this going to be like a one-off, just an in between the season deal, or is Gen V going to be going to be its own thing, or there's multiple seasons? There's a lot of possibilities, and like I think that this spinoff showed that the world of the boys is like it's very vast, and they can continue to kind of expand on that and give us more content.
Is it going to feed right into the boys? Are we going to have like a crossover of these characters with characters from the boys, and or are they just going to be running parallel, right? Because it's the same timeline, obviously. Right. They all these kids now know that Compound V was given to them, and they weren't born with these abilities, right? So it would be interesting to see if this series carries on for more than just a season. I would watch it. That's for sure. But I feel like at the same time, you kind of have to do like a crossover with the boys at one point.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So any other final thoughts before we get out of here?
No? For those who haven't watched it, go watch it.
Right now.
Yeah. And we will be back next week to talk about episode 4. It's just one episode, so it'll be a lot easier for us to break down as opposed to like 3 massive episodes of introducing characters and plots and all kinds of good stuff. So now that you know what we think about the first 3 episodes of Gen V, we want to know what you think about it. And Brittany, how can people let us know?
Always tell people to join us for the live chat here on YouTube. We have so much fun getting to engage with our viewers, and we also encourage everyone to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video, helps us out a lot, and also to hit that notification bell. That way you know when the next live stream will be, which at time of recording, we have another live stream happening tomorrow. We will be covering the season of Ahsoka, which is on Disney Plus. If you're a Star Wars fan, you've been watching it, join us for that tomorrow. We'll leave information, here on YouTube, but go subscribe. Also, you can hit us up on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter/X. I still can't say X. I say Twitter. Instagram, and we're also on Threads. Yes, we're on Threads. Go like us over there, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell others about us at Watcher's Basement. You can also hit us up using the hashtag Watcher's Basement to help grow our audience. Send us memes, send us articles, send us things that you want us to review next. And if video podcasting is not your thing, that's cool. We got you covered. We got audio podcasts available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Follow us on all those platforms. Give us a 5-star rating on all those platforms as well. We'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brittany. So for Brittany and for Tristan, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.